I'm Kate, Plastic Free Mermaid, and I'm coming to you live from Australia, where for 4 months we've had fires ravaging our country. We've had record-breaking heat, thousands of people have been displaced, hundreds of homes have been lost, and as you may have heard, at least half a billion animals have died in these fires. It's predicted that over a billion have been killed, burned alive in these fires, and those who have survived won't have a habitat to return to. So it's really dire at the moment here in Australia. Just clean the lens. You know I keep it organic, right? So yeah, 20 million acres across the country have burned. It's just been a devastating time for this country, and yeah, we're so grateful for the outpouring of support and love and donations, and we really feel that. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and keep commenting love and support from wherever you are in the world. It feels so good to hear that people are watching and listening and paying attention, and that you care. So even here, please comment below what country you're from and where you are. I think technology can be used for good and bad, and during these times of crisis, it's really amazing how our communications technology can be so useful, such an incredible tool to communicate information, but also to just spread support and love. It feels so good to feel that. So thank you for sending those words of support and love. Also, thank you for your generosity if you've donated. Millions have been pouring in, and whilst that makes me a little bit uncomfortable because it's hard to track that money, it's hard to track those donations and make sure they're ending up where they're really needed. Like the gesture itself is so beautiful, and we really feel that, so thank you. What I'm talking to you about today is some of the false narratives that are circulating. As I said, technology can be used for good and bad, for connecting us, but also for creating division. And we've seen this many times actually in the recent history, where technology, now that we have so many channels that we're connected on and so many platforms that take our data, take information about us and and how we act online and what we care about, and that's easy to monitor and sell. So I'm talking today about keeping the truth, what's really happening here in Australia. It's really easy to circulate narratives that are to create public opinion, or to create ideology, or to create I guess in a false sense of what's happening here, or a false understanding of what's happening here through social media. So there's been a lot of rumors that these fires were caused by arsonists, and whilst that is true for a very small fraction of the major fires, it's not by any means true for the majority of the fires that we're experiencing here, that have been raging for 4 months. So this video is to, and why it's dangerous. As consumers of media and information and communications daily, constantly, I mean, I'm on my phone right now, how as consumers of this information, we need to stay savvy and critical thinkers so that we can better so that we're not spreading lies and contributing to the panic and the fear that is circulating in the world right now, regardless of where we are and regardless of what's happening, whether we're in Australia and the fires are burning and we're so scared and we want to understand what's happening, or we're abroad and we're scared and we want to understand what's happening. The main thing that's dangerous about this is that it takes the onto arsonists. It takes the blame off the government, who's not doing enough at all. And it takes the attention off the true cause of these fires, which is the fact that this country is just really ripe for fires at the moment. It's the hottest, driest year on record. This is information proven by or a statement given by the Bureau of Meteorology. Australia's had record-breaking heat. The hottest days on record were just last month in December. I think it's 38 months straight of record-breaking heat, above average temperatures. So it's not that we're having this string of random arsonists There's also a rumor that it's the green activists that are setting fire to the country to prove their point that climate change is real. To contain fires that are set by arsonists. In fact, they set fires, and it's part of their is that the conditions are so hot and dry they can't contain them. So yeah, we need to keep the focus on the government and on climate change, which is what's causing the hot conditions. And yeah, of homes, of wildlife. There have been at least 25 human deaths so far. That's so many, so many lives lost, firefighters, innocent humans. So, we really need to address the real cause of this, which is climate change, and we need to put the pressure on our governments to do so. Okay, let's get into it. And it can be a really scary time, and that's why I'm making this little video, is because it's hard to not be able to trust the government, and it's really scary to not be able to trust our media. So that's why, trying to create our own media with our own networks and continue to spread truth, and have honest discussions, and not point blame and be aggressive, but instead just coming from the heart and from an open place, trying to understand the science and share the truth. That's what's important right now, and always, but especially right now during times of crisis. How is this arson story being spread? Okay, I'm back. We saw that with the election, the previous U.S. election, where the Trump campaign used social media to spread narratives about Hillary Clinton, crooked Hillary, don't vote for this criminal, spreading all of these narratives to create public opinion that was against the opponent, the person running against him. So it's easy to do this. Imagine if you just tried to create a story, you got a few friends to say, you're going on holiday to Costa Rica together. People would just believe that. You would trust that because you're all in it together. You're all saying this same narrative. Why wouldn't they? Why would they think anything else? And then you flood the internet with a particular story, and you create scientific sounding organizations or credible people, or even just random Twitter accounts. A lot of these Twitter accounts have just been created this month. They have no new posts, and now they're just posting like crazy about this arson theory. Tech researcher Timothy Graham found that 1 in 3 Twitter accounts that he researched using 1 in 3 Twitter played bot-like behavior. So this is like the tech companies, or these campaigners that are using robots or bots to spread a certain campaign, or spread certain misinformation, to shift the opinion or persuadables. So people that are kind of on the fence for something. So they use your data, they use your information to figure out your likelihood of latching on to a particular story, and then they flood your feed with that information. This is kind of a condition of, or what we call motivated reasoning, which is when we justify how we hold on to a worldview, even when evidence mounts against it. So we just naturally look for information that confirms our existing beliefs. This is so dangerous. This is why it's so important to stay open and not attach rigidly to any viewpoint, but just have these conversations and stay open to new information. Otherwise, we're so prone to attaching to a theory or a campaign, even if it's ridiculous, like, oh, these 4 months of fires burning across an entire nation were caused by arsonists. It's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous theory to believe or put forward. But it's when we're looking for something to confirm, if someone's really doesn't want to accept climate change, and they hear, oh, these fires actually caused by arsonists, that makes them feel safe. It makes them feel like, okay, this isn't as scary as I thought, because it's just some humans to blame. So let's just be really savvy and feel into our belief systems and what we hold to be true, and so that we're able to stay critical of the media that we ingest. Okay, this misinformation is to turn us against each other. So instead of keeping the focus on more government spending towards the firefighting and also the victims of who've lost everything in these fires, they don't want our attention to be on the government. They don't want our attention to be on the true cause, which is the atmosphere being full of our greenhouse into the atmosphere. They don't want us to focus on that, because then they would have to take action, which is what we need urgently. And then, so how do they keep attention off themselves? They turn us against each other. So only a small fraction of the total fires have been proven to be deliberately caused by arson. This is from forensic fire scientist David Bowman. Most are caused by natural fire storms. I mean, you've seen the videos of the fire tornadoes online. I mean, these are incredible storms. And that's what's making them so hard to contain. There's also been fires, some of these major fires have been caused by accidental infrastructure and accidental human activity. So, but again, it's because all of these fires take because of the hot, dry conditions. And this is why the firefighters are struggling to contain them. Cherishing fresh water. Very few of these fires are deliberate. Let's be really clear about that. In terms of the charges around arson, 2 days ago, 24 people have been charged thus far in the past 4 months during this fire season for arson in New South Wales, in a state in Australia, in the state I'm in. Almost all have been unrelated to the major fires. So almost all of the arson arrests are unrelated to the major fires, these hundreds of fires that are burning in Australia. One guy, for example, was charged setting fire to save his weed crop. You know, so that's an arson charge. He set fire to try and save his crops. Yeah, he was growing marijuana, whatever. If you have a big garden, if you're a farmer and you're setting fire to the surrounding bushfire, that's what the firefighters do. They back burn. They do these controlled burns to try and create areas that a fire would just like reach a stopping point, because it's already been burned. There's nothing to set fire there. So that's what a lot of these arson charges are about. There's been zero arrests for arson in Victoria, another state here in Australia. So yeah, again, this claim that the fires have all been set by arson would suggest a huge increase in arson in Australia at one concentrated time. Just random arson acts causing the country to burn for 4 months. I think that is a coincidence that points to, something worth looking deeper into before we spread that sort of accusation or assumption. Okay, this is fire season. Naturally, historically, we have burns, we are fires during this time of year, always. It's the fact that it's so hot and dry, because we have drought, because we have decreased rain, because we have increased temperatures and rising temperatures, as climate scientists have predicted, we have the fire season getting longer. That means there's a shorter window for the firefighters to backburn and to do the methods that they take to prevent these fires. Okay, there's also the claim that it's the Greens and the environmental activists who are to blame because they've been stopping the backburns or the hazard reduction burns. This is the intentional backburning to prevent fires. So there's been a firefighter who's come out, his name's Drew, who says, yes, he's spoken out against all of this misinformation and the rumors about arson to create clarity, and just out of frustration, he's like, please ask the firefighters about this. This is untrue, and I'll share the link in the comment below. But he said, yes, we still do the hazard reduction burns. And yes, we should absolutely do more. They're not being blocked by the Greens and the environmental activists. Even the New South Wales Rural Fire Service Commissioner himself, Shane Fitzsimmons, this is a government employee, said it is not the green tape, making hazard their jobs. It's just that there's a lot longer, hotter summers that have been exacerbated, increased by climate change. I mean, again, as I said, the window for the hazard burning is shorter each year. Ask them before you spread this information. Okay, and also Drew, this firefighter who's speaking out against these rumors, has said the fires burn through the areas backburned because of the hot, dry conditions. So even in areas where they have done this technique of wildfires, the fires are so hot and big and powerful that they just burn through those. So again, it's just the conditions. Regardless of the cause, the country is so hot and dry like never before. The fires aren't able to be contained. So yeah, governments must increase spending for hazard reduction burns. New South Wales should increase its budget from 100 million to 500 million to support the firefighters to take more preventative measures, when in fact we've seen the opposite. They've been cutting funding for the New South Wales Rural Fire Service. So less and less over the past 6 years. In the South Coast, for example, they dropped water spraying or pumping trucks from 43 to 12, and reduced their command vehicles. And that's information coming from Michael West, a journalist. We don't need around climate change, that it's real and happening. And never would a climate change activist or supporter or believer burn forest to the main, who so yeah, we need to see this for what it is, and it's up to us to spread the truth and the facts and the science and have healthy conversation, reaching, pushing, but because that creates more separation. The last thing we need is us and them. We do not need that. We need to include everyone. We need to declare climate emergency, and we have to do it together. Aggressive, reacting from fear. We need to come from a place of love and compassion and be kind to each other, and not, hold our energy. Yellow lights, the people that are kind of unsure, those are persuadables that the bots are going to be targeting. To find them in true media, to use that technology to create separation amongst us, turn us against each other, make a difference. Meanwhile, they've been giving 26 billion. They're already on mobile cent in taxes to Australia. How crazy is this? So, of course, it's in their economic interest to deny climate change, because if they acknowledge climate change and a climate emergency is in direct opposition, leading fossil fuel producing country, they are, it would be cutting themselves dry of so much of their funding to accept that, or acknowledge that this country is heating up and drying out because of the emissions and history. This is a country that's wealthy because of that. So, and that's fine. It's just time to acknowledge new economic opportunities, and there's plenty. There's so much economic opportunities in the green economy. So we shouldn't be scared. We just need a just transition. Okay, so finally, they just gave $4 billion to Indian coal billionaire Gautam Adani to dig the largest southern hemisphere. So you may have me protesting Stop Adani, this campaign that we've been protesting for years. This coal mine that is water rights, whereas even Australian farmers don't have water rights, for free to export all this coal over to India to be burned. So this is disgraceful. The government, Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, it's understandable. He was at Kangaroo Island this week, and he couldn't even remember that a father and a son have passed away trying to flee the fires. He said, at least we haven't had any deaths. Just very cold and detached. I'm at a conference where the Australian government at this conference emissions, and yeah, just before that conference, Scott Morrison, or ScoMo, or Smoke, this man, argued that there's no direct link between greenhouse gases and the severity of fires ravaging the country. He said that Australia could increase emissions without making current fire season worse. So this person just is in total denial, and is not looking out for the future generations, for this country. Sketchy. So 4 days ago, the Prime Minister did make a statement. Australian government has so we'll see if he's going to take action. Perhaps there's been enough pressure on him globally, to take action, or at least to make that statement. So hopefully we'll see some action around this power. They're putting money, false narratives and fake news, and to have us turn against each other, and blame individuals instead of holding these individuals in power. These individuals whose pockets are so lined by the rising and putting us against each other when we really need to come together. He's gone on record firefighters, and he is not revisiting climate policy. He's gone on record to say that he's in total denial of the climate change. This is a leading coal-producing country by choice. It doesn't have to dig up all these fossil fuels. It doesn't pay foreign and continue warming the climate. So the government is trying its best to allow Equinor, a Norwegian oil company, to drill in the Great Australian Bight and Australian waters. Information on the fire, our activism around that, and continue to spread the truth. The Australian government has approved the Adani mine, like we mentioned. It's the largest in Queensland, to 7 more mega mines, stripping the land. Protesters to lock them up, to lock these criminals up. Who are the water wars are beginning? The mining of water, of fresh water, like it's crazy times. So this is why we all need to become our own media channels and really be careful about the media that we do ingest. That are going around that burned to worth looking more into. So these major fires were actually caused by arson, intentionally set fires. And were they malicious? Most no. So, and is that the real cause? No, it's the hot, dry conditions. Look into these more before we just mindlessly spread it. We just want to be better, more critical thinkers, better researchers, instead of just reading the headline of on social media response. So you engage with all the trolls, just copy and cut and paste your response, and then cut and paste that to anyone that you want to just have kind of like a sharp answer, like, hey, I recommend you looking more into this. Oh, jeez. Okay. The solution is not, how we can help. And can we go local? This, I don't know if the solution is donating millions of dollars to organizations right now. Like it's yes, money is a tool. It's really helpful. We really need that resource, but it's really hard to track. Even the Liberal government here, the Prime Minister who's currently in charge, who's giving billions of taxpayer dollars, has a fund for the fires on their page, just fundraising money for themselves. So thank you for clicking the donate and taking money from your account to give to Australia during this time. That's really noble and beautiful. But how can you make a bigger impact for the world? Vote, vote for the planet, vote for climate, get more people on board, join your local groups, join your local protests. It's cathartic. It feels good to be around other people that care. It feels good to shout and yell and scream and march. Get involved in local politics, write your local government, so important. And also hold space for each other. Like, we need to go local and connect with our community. It's so important. Who is going to be there when the fires rage? Like, you need to know your neighbors. You want to know your local food growers and your farmers. You want to support local, like keep money in your local economy. Stop spreading money to like people importing food that's packaged in plastic. Like, that is being transported around the world by oil, being burned, it's emitting more greenhouse gases. So keep the money local, even if it's a little bit more expensive for you right now. If you can't afford it, please use that privilege to support your local economy. Connect with elders, listen to elders. A lot of elders are feeling really ashamed and scared and despondent, feeling like they've created this world, many of them unknowingly, some of them intentionally. And so reach out and create some support and love there, because many of them feel so hopeless and helpless, and they have so much wisdom to share and support and love to give and offer. Reach out to youth, just as the elders feel kind of abandoned by us, the youth totally feel betrayed. They feel scared, they feel angry. So reach out, mentor a youth, support a youth. Create groups, sharing circles with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers. Hold space, sit together in a circle and just share what's going on for you. Share your feelings, share your emotions, and hold space for each other. Set a container, a safe container where you're not going to share outside of that circle, so people feel safe to share. Yeah, and hold space for each other. This is a hard time. Breathe deep, sit in silence, feel into what's really coming up for you right now, so we don't bottle it up or repress it, so we're not reacting from a place of fear and anxiety. Yeah, I think that this is a really hard time for us. Obviously this country is really ripe for fires at the moment, and that's because of climate change, because of the heating of the planet has dried out this country, causing higher temperatures than ever before. So yes, it's been a crisis, it's a disaster, and we're so sad for all of the loss, but this is also ripe for change. And we want to make sure that we are informed as to what's really happening, so that we can direct the change intentionally, from a place of truth and science and understanding, and collaboratively together, working for a better world. So please share this if this makes sense to you. Write your own post, do your own video using this information. Again, I'm on the channel as this Plastic Free Mermaid. Please subscribe to YouTube if you want more science, especially around plastic, and support your local. Stay positive. Don't buy into the bots and trolls. Conserve your energy. Hold your boundaries. So important right now. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Take care of your community. All right, sending lots of love. Make sure to breathe. Make sound, move. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling eco-anxiety, just shift that energy, change your brain state. All right, lots of love.